Welcome into the Cris Collinsworth podcast, and we're normally starring Richard Sherman, but today is Richard's birthday. So very happy birthday to Richard. And so in the clutch, man, I needed help. I can't do this by myself. I had to pull out the big guns. So I said, why not? Let's take a swing, see if we can get the winning coach and Super Bowl champion Bruce Arians, and he was with us today, and it was really fun. Of course, talking about his Super Bowl championship, talking about Tom Brady's trophy toss out on the boats, some of my personal favorite Bruce Arianisms, and a little bit on his mother, who is 95 years old, who talked a little trash about the Kansas City Chiefs before the Super Bowl. So we're having a lot of fun. A lot of stories go back and forth. Even talked some about Bear Bryant, who Bruce coached for back in the day. But we'll get right to it in just a second. We are, of course, presented by DraftKings and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code PFF and get 100-1 odds on any tournament game. Time is running out, so go make that happen. And today's podcast, you're going to have a lot of fun. Didn't take very long, about 40 minutes, but that was long enough with this guy. It is the Super Bowl champion head coach and one of the great guys in the league, Coach Bruce Arians. Let me just start by saying congratulations. You and I have known each other for a while. I've been interviewing you as a coordinator in 400 different places and head coaches in 400 different places. But this one was really special. This was one of those that there was an overwhelming favorite in the league this year in Kansas City. And you guys just slowly, methodically kind of put this thing together. It went from what I watched on tape against the Green Bay Packers, where you're down 10-0 and win 38-10. And I told everybody that would listen, this is the best team in football and they're going to win the Super Bowl. And then we turned around and did a Sunday night game against the Saints in your place, and you got beat 38-3 or something like that.
Couldn't even make a first down.
So I said, I don't know anything about anything. But it was quite the journey, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden it just came together, and it was, by the end, it was like you guys were a Mack truck just running, baby. You were running.
Yeah, it took a while to find us, with no practice and this whole crazy year that we had. We went to New Orleans that first game, and I don't think half the guys knew what the hell plays were. I know Tom didn't know what all the words meant for sure. And, so it's to see that thing just grow and grow and ups and downs and look really, really good and really, really shitty. Then to see it all come to fruition right after that, by halftime of the Atlanta game in Atlanta, I think the scoring that 31 points in the second half, that gave us some confidence.
Now, I got to tell the people when my sort of love affair with you started. So we were in Arizona. You played against Seattle, and you guys got beat. Close game, but you got beat. So we're out in the parking lot, our NBC crew, me and Al and all the boys, and it's dark out there. You can't really see anything, but there's still a couple of people lingering in this is back when there were actually fans, and it took you 4 hours to get out from a game. And we're sitting there, and I'm walking around, and I come walking by, and I hear this, "Hey, Chris." And I was like, I look over, and I couldn't really see. And I walk over, and I was like, "Bruce, what's happening, man?" I was like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, I knew I was going to be stuck. I was like, "What are you doing here?" And you said, "Man, I don't know. We got one saying around here. Win or lose, after the game, we booze." Amen. And I want you to know that is now the logo printed on everything that NBC does. We have a few good broadcasts and a few bad broadcasts, but win or lose, we're with you.
That's it, baby. They used to love that parking spot because, everybody, players, families all came out that way, and they knew where to stop to get a beer and a pat on the back or an ass chew, and either one. But it was we don't have that setup. I miss that. I really miss that because we don't have that setup here.
It's interesting. I was listening to your interview with Jimmy Kimmel, and I thought the story about your mom was fantastic. That 95 years old, right? So out of Pennsylvania, here she comes for the Super Bowl, and she shows up at your house and she's talking a little trash. Now, what did mom have to say at 95?
Oh, the Chiefs are going down. The Chiefs are going down. So they're at the hotel, and I guess the Chiefs fans and my brothers are with her and everything. And hey, the Chiefs are going down. And the lady kind of turns around, look, what? And it's like, oh, mom, don't get them in a fight again. I used to get us in fights all the time, but yeah, she was talking trash, and the whole way home, down with the Chiefs, down with the Chiefs.
I would have expected nothing less out of you. You know what I start to think back about, and I'm going over some of your background stuff, and I've interviewed you 100 times. I don't know that I've ever actually asked you about sort of one of the beginning jump off points for you was getting a chance to work with Bear Bryant. Now, I want to tell you my recruiting story about Bear Bryant. So Bear Bryant showed up at my house and did the whole thing. And I flew in, I got to go to his house. And back in the days, like you, I was a wishbone quarterback. And so I got recruited by quite a few places out there. And so they put me in Bear's office. And so, you got to wait about 10 minutes before he's coming in. There's no way he's coming in right away. And Bear's desk was about 18 feet high. It was made out of sequoia trees, I think. and my chair was about a half inch off the ground. So I am literally in this chair looking up at God when he comes walking in the door and sits down behind his desk. And he says to me, and I'm quoting, and I said, yes, sir. And he went, and I said, yes, sir. And he's like, and I said, yes, sir. And he got up, shook my hand, and walked out. And the assistant coach who was in charge of recruiting me, he came in the room afterwards and he said, what did you say to coach? And I said, well, I got to be real honest with you. I didn't really understand everything he was saying. So I just kept saying, yes, sir. And he said, well, I don't know what you said, but he said, come in here and offer you a scholarship. You were his kind of guy. Sound familiar to you?
Oh, yeah. I don't think there were any springs in that couch because you sat on the floor. Oh. And he was a big man anyway. I mean, same thing for me going in the interview with him for a job. And I think Mal Moore said, hey, you'll probably end up being 10 minutes with coach, right? And it was like an hour and a half just talking. And I had this big mustache back then too. And so he said, yeah, I was going to bring somebody else in, but I'm going to give you the job. I said, I'll take it, coach. I go home. My wife says, you took the job? Yeah. How much you making? I don't know. I didn't ask you. I said, I think he knows what I'm making. I think he'll give me a raise. But sitting in that sofa was absolutely amazing talking to him, and just an unbelievable guy. I mean, the master of all personnel. People don't realize, even at the end, we substituted 66 players a game. We played 66 guys in every game. He substituted every single player. If you send a guy, God bless Steve Hale, he just passed away, was our outside linebacker coach, young guy out of Clemson. We're both new on the staff. And Coach Donahue hollers down out of the press, hey, put Jim Bob in. It's like, get so-and-so out. He sticks him in the game, right? And Coach always had that manila folder. He walks down, he said, stuck him in the ribs with it. He said, son, do you like your job? Said, yes, sir. Don't you ever send another guy that across that line. But he was just a man. He could read people like nobody's business, man. He was special.
Oh, I loved him. I really did. I just loved him. The other story that I love from you is that, you'd think success would buy you a little time, right? You'd think that winning a Super Bowl would buy you a little time. And so you have been a part of Super Bowls in Pittsburgh as a receivers coach, as the offensive coordinator, now as the head coach. But when you were the offensive coordinator, you were kind of innovative back in the days when the Pittsburgh Steelers used to, as a fan base, they wanted to see the running game. They wanted to see Franco Harris play till he was 80 years old. They wanted to pound people with the ball. And here you come in with this new age passing game and no risk it, no biscuit, and all the different things. So tell them about the Super Bowl parade. This is after you've won the Super Bowl as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, we're coming down the street in a parade, and I'm getting booed. And the guy hollers out, "Get a fullback." I said, "Never."
So you just won the
My
trophy.
wife said, "Only you could get booed in the Super Bowl parade."
Actually, I got booed in the Super Bowl parade in Philadelphia. They didn't like what I said during the game. So I got it. It's just so fantastic. But, the other thing I remember coming out of Pittsburgh a little bit was you and Ben had a great relationship, right? I mean, you guys were buds down to, I think you had next to each other, a house on a lake in Georgia somewhere.
Real close, yeah.
Right. But that's the way you've always been. You've always been, if I don't want to misquote you here, but you kind of treat quarterbacks like they're part of the family.
Definitely.
And you want them to be bold and aggressive in doing everything. Tell the first story on Peyton Manning. So in his first game ever, you're in Indy now, and you're out there, and Peyton Manning's already thrown 3 interceptions, and he kind of thinks that maybe it's best if he comes out of the game.
Yeah, it was exactly in New England. And so he throws about the third one to Ty Law. And, I think I need to sit down. I said, "Bullshit, brother. This is the NFL. All right. You're going to take your ass back in there, and we're going no huddle, 2-minute. And I don't care if you throw 3 more interceptions. Let's learn something the rest of this game." And he gritted it up, takes us right down the field. I said, "Whatever you do, just check it down to Marshall Faulk, hell." And he checks it down about Marshall about 4 times. We scored a touchdown. And it was like, for him, he had never experienced that, and that was a great defense. But it was fun coaching him early in those first 3 years. He loves telling a story about how I'm the quarterback whisperer now, but you didn't whisper too much to me when I threw 28 interceptions. Tell him not to throw it to the other damn team.
There's so many great things. If you had to put your finger on this year, right? In the beginning of the year, everybody said, "All right, what are we going to get here? Are we going to get Bruce Arians' offense? Are we going to get Tom Brady's offense?" And you had a great line for him about who should be learning what when it comes down to this marriage that ended up in a Super Bowl championship. What was that first conversation like?
Yeah, when we first started talking about, systems, and I said, "Look, man, it's going to be a whole lot easier for one really smart dude to learn something than 21 average learners to relearn something." And he said, "Oh, coach, I'm all in." It's just the verbiage, because we actually run the same stuff. We watched every throw you made for the last 3 years. So I know you're running almost everything we run. And it's just what we call it. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm all in. I'm learning." He said, "Coach, you got guys running wide open. Just tell me what to do." And so it was a great conversation. But yeah, and it was a fun. And I'm gonna stop right here and say Byron Leftwich he should have been assistant coach of the year, because what he did with Tom was just amazing with no preseason. And I stepped back and let it just happen. Great job.
I don't know if I'm totally believing that, but I'm going to let you go ahead on that one.
I did.
But I agree with Byron's fantastic. I think I did learn something though. So anytime I do an interview with you, it's like I got to bring something to the dance, right? So it's hard for me to come up with something new with you, because we've done this a few times. But one of the things, so obviously one of the stories of the Super Bowl this year, which I think is going to be your legacy more than all the rings you've won and all the stuff that you've done, is your assistant coaches. Every one of your coordinators, Byron Leftwich, Todd Bowles, Keith Armstrong's the special teams guy, Harold Godwin's your assistant head coach and running game, Lori Locust, MJ, one of your assistant strength coaches, a couple of ladies involved as well. But one I did not know was that at Virginia Tech, this wasn't something that started with you in the last year since all this stuff has been going on. At Virginia Tech, you were the first ever to have a roommate of a different race, and it was a famous dad to a couple of rock stars in the NFL.
Yeah, I get to Virginia Tech, and John Devlin, God bless him, man. I don't know, people don't know, I got kicked out of high school. Nobody recruited me except John Devlin, and I went to Virginia Tech, And he said, yeah, we have a black player coming in from Charlotte. He's going to be your roommate. I said, I'm cool with that. No problem. My best friends from where I grew up were black. So it was like, yeah, it was James Barber. And man, we hung a sign on the door, Salt and Pepper Incorporated. And later, we started coaching together at Virginia Tech, and he had the twins, Tiki and Rondé Barber, who are now both famous. Both should be in the Hall of Fame. Really, really, really great dude.
As you look back at this year, can you tell me when it happened that you guys said, if we kind of got the rest of it here, if we could get Tom Brady to come down here and buy into what we're trying to do, and had something to sell him other than no income tax in the great state of Florida that we all really appreciate. And I'm coming to you live from Orlando as we speak right now. But what do you think sold him on Tampa and you?
Chris, I think he recruited us as much as we recruited him. When we first started talking, he knew every single player. He knew the entire roster. Tom doesn't leave any stones unturned. Knew the whole staff, knew all about the income tax and the warm weather and all the good things that go with it. But it was a very interesting phone call. I mean, I could hear the excitement in his voice. Obviously, he could hear the excitement in mine. When we finished that season, we said, gosh, we love Jameis. Jameis works his tail off. Can we get him better? I think so, but we got to explore what's behind door number 2, and never thinking Tom was going to leave New England. Then all of a sudden we can make a phone call and he's extremely excited, and it didn't take long for that to happen. And, again, Jason Light did a great job. And, but yeah, that conversation was a really, really cool one.
So it seemed like there was a switch that flipped somewhere in the middle of this season. You had the thing in Chicago as a 3rd down, 4th down. I mean, like there was just kind of this whole weird year a little bit, no training camp. So Tom Brady's trying to teach your offense to these players at a high school field. It's like, how in the heck does all this come together? But in your mind, was there kind of something on this season? Because when it started happening fast. Gronk had the shoulder injury earlier in the year. Antonio Brown comes out, has a touchdown. So 3 of your touchdowns in the Super Bowl came from 2 guys that were out of football the year prior. So in your mind, was there something that turned this thing on?
Well, I think the accumulation of Leonard Fournette, getting him, adding AB to a really good football team, especially a really good defense. And, having everybody back on defense, they didn't start from square one, and I'm watching us in training camp, and our offense is playing pretty good against a hell of a defense every day. So I start feeling pretty good. And then we have our ups and downs early in the season. But I think the second half of the first Kansas City game, really the second quarter, we played really, really well.
Because you guys got crushed in the first quarter.
First quarter, we learned what not to do. You learn from your mistakes. That's one thing about this business. You don't make them twice. And, we weren't going to single Tyreek anymore. And but we played really well in the offense side of the ball. And
no doubt.
Had we got it back in the last 4 minutes, I think we would have won. So that snowball, the week 13 bye was late. And I mean, it was a mental grind between the COVID and the protocols and the normal season. To have a week 13 bye is, now I hope I have it this year because with the 17 game schedule, but just refreshing the batteries, man, and looking at what we were doing, simplifying some things. We had 4 games we thought we could win, and we started talking about the playoffs. We came back, took a week. I don't even want to see you. Come back next Monday, and get refreshed. We put up the playoff scenarios. This is where we stand. All right, we're probably the best we can be is the 5th seed. But here we're playing Minnesota. they're neck and neck. We can't lose this game. We lose the tiebreaker. And we talked about it. And we win that game. Going to Atlanta, probably a little cocky, and we're down 17-0. And JPP goes off at halftime like a good veteran should. Tom just sitting over there gritting his teeth and, all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to score every time we touch the ball, starting with the first possession. And that's what I said. We just need to get the snowball rolling. We score. Damn if they don't go score. But then we just started attacking. And I basically said on the sideline, we're going to attack from now until the season's over. All right, we ain't dinking and dunking. We're attacking from now till the season's over on offense. All right, and it just clicked. It just clicked. We started hitting all the deep stuff. We heard, our pass protection worked out real good. We started running the ball better because I think we simplified it to, we knew our backs. We knew what Rojo could do, knew what Leonard could do, and it just took some time to find it.
It's interesting for me is that as I look at your team, obviously the secondary, they were all babies the first year, came back, and all of them much improved this year. But you were missing some key pieces. I mean, Vita Vea comes back for the Super Bowl, but that dude was a monster in the first month or however long he lasted of the season. And then you started rotating your guards out due to injury, and Aaron Stinney ends up coming in, but Alex Kappa out for the last 3 of the playoff games. Ali Marpet missed a key little stretch of the season. But somehow that came together with Tristan Wirfs, the draft pick, playing the tackle position. I mean, the difference in the game, in the Super Bowl game, you could literally watch. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was on the run and your guys were getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, we went into the game extremely confident. It was a big win in Green Bay. And I don't think there's a better place to win than Lambeau Field. I mean, that just the history of it and everything there. And it was really the first time we had fans. It was loud as shit. It said 9,000 people, but they all had a cardboard beating on the chair in front of them, and which was a smart thing to do. But, it was just, I think we really matured that day to set us up for the next week. But that not having AB in that ball game, and both of our safeties not having Winfield, and Jordan tears up his shoulder and we hang in there and win that game. But we were super confident going into the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh, it was such a strange sequence at the end of that Green Bay game where, it looked like Aaron could have run the ball in for a touchdown and he threw it and incomplete. And then everybody and their mother thought that they were going to go for it on 4th down, end up kicking the field goal and never getting the ball back again. Can you remember the feeling when they trotted the field goal kicker out there where you're thinking, oh baby, thank you very much.
All right, let's go. We need 3 first downs, because they had the 2-minute warning and the 3 timeouts. And they said, this thing's far, far from, we ain't giving him this ball back, but we're going to have to make some plays. And it's not going to be a run, punt. I mean, we got to make plays. And, guys stepped up. Mike Evans has a big play. It was obvious pass interference. I mean, the one on Tyler Johnson. I mean, he has his jersey stretched from here to you, so
he did.
You have to call that one, even when they're swallowing their whistles. And but yeah, I mean, I would have done the same thing if I was Matt. With our defense and four timeouts, basically with the 2-minute warning, I'd kick the field goal too.
Interesting. One of the most interesting things that I read about your wife, Christine, I've got that right? She never met Tom Brady until she was on the podium at the Super Bowl.
Exactly. We normally have those Saturday walkthroughs when I have all the kids out there and all the families out there every Saturday. Couldn't have that this year. So there was never a time for them to ever meet. And walking up on the podium, I say, hey, Tom, this is my wife, Cris. And he said, oh, these are my kids, hey, how you doing? And it was one of those made for TV moments. Like, really? You just met him for the first time and you're holding Lombardi trophy.
I don't know about you, but I don't know that I'm ever introducing my wife to Tom Brady with a direct comparison, me standing side by side with Tom Brady.
No, she said he's way too pretty.
Oh man, it has just been so. Then you get the boat parade after the game,
Oh,
right?
baby. Unbelievable.
And Tom's had some whatever that vodka was or whatever he had. Only Tom Brady would drink apricot vodka or whatever it was.
Avocado tequila.
Avocado tequila. There we go. Thanks. I needed the help on that one. And he takes that trophy and throws it across. Now, I grew up in the Florida area. I lived on Tampa Bay for a period of time. If he throws an incomplete pass there, that thing is on the bottom of a fast-moving body of water, and that may be the greatest buried treasure everybody would have been looking for the rest of your life. When you first saw the video of that, every other head coach would have gasped. I guarantee you were laughing your ass off.
I really was. I was really laughing, at his cute little daughter going, "No, Dad!" Like, yeah, I said, "It's Tom Brady. Of course, it's going to be complete."
It was definitely complete. It was definitely complete. They've gotten, as you go back now, and the one bad thing, if there's any bad thing about winning or playing in the Super Bowl, is, man, you don't get any time at the lake, do you? I mean, you go right to free agency, you go right to the draft, you go right into it. But you guys have managed to kind of keep the band together here. And you start to look at it and you go, man, where's the hole? Where's the big issue on this football team? And getting Levante David back certainly is going to solidify those two inside linebackers. Just tell me your thoughts as you headed into free agency and now what that does for you guys going into the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it started with, keeping the coaching staff together. When we got all the coaches back, we did Antoine Randall. I was really happy for him. He got the Detroit job, with the receiver. He was assistant wide receiver coach. So we kept the staff together. Then free agency for us this year was, hey, Jason, you guys figure out a way to keep our guys. We don't need an outsider in here. If we can keep 6 out of 8, whatever it is, and then in our backups, no coach needs to look at any tape. We don't need to look at it, who else out there, because if we can just get our guys, and man, Mike Greenberg and Jackie Davison, they're like miracle workers with that salary cap, the way they work it around, and Tom redid his, and Donovan redid his, and opened up some cap room, and I didn't think the guys wanted to leave. You've been on those teams that, and we didn't. I mean, they got their money. Everybody got their money. So it's like, that wasn't like I'm playing for the home team discount, but there was a bond on that football team that nobody wanted to leave. And you could feel it, even in the weirdest of all years where you couldn't eat together, you couldn't meet together. It was like there was no team building, but somehow the commitment to each other to beat the virus. Right, 21 to 28-year-old guys, hey, man, you're going home every night and you're coming back to work. They're like, that ain't happening, but it did. We had 2 cases all year, and one was Devin going to see his horse, and but so it was that. I think that commitment helped us in free agency because nobody wanted to leave, and they all tested to see what they could get and say, nope, I'm coming back.
The big money guy obviously was Shaq Barrett, getting him back. You just like with Chris Godwin, you put him, on the list there, and for 1 year, and then he got his big contract. But whatever it is, 27 sacks, something like that in the last 2 years, I think second most in the NFL. But your defensive line in that Super Bowl game really took over. And I know they've had some injuries on their offensive line, or missing their tackles and all that kind of stuff. But your ability to rush 4, or if you're playing Aaron Rodgers, rush both linebackers and try and kill them, which was a good strategy too. But those guys up front were able to dominate that game and many other games in a way that really won you guys a Super Bowl, didn't it?
It really did. It always starts with stopping the run. And it's 2 years in a row, Todd's done an unbelievable job of being number 1 in the league against the run. So get him in one dimension and go after it, because we do blitz a lot. So, if a guy steps forward, it might make a guy hesitate just enough for that outside guy to go, or that inside guy to go. And I thought Todd just did a miraculous job of keeping the coverage and the rush and the underneath coverage all coordinated, man zone, little bit of blitzing, but they anticipate blitzing. Like all it does is take some hesitation, and it's just a great game plan. And the guys played it to perfection.
I thought the other thing from watching the regular season game and what I saw during the course of that playoff game and the Super Bowl game was the red zone. That when you guys were in man coverage that first game, it just didn't go well, right? Mm-hmm. And when you ended up in zones, they didn't do much of anything, and he held the ball. And I remember Shaq Barrett got that one sack when they were down in the red zone and almost, sack fumble. And I was like, all right, I know what the formula is. And I guarantee you Kansas City knows what the formula is now. I mean, you can't watch that tape and know what worked and what didn't work. And yet you were able to run it back in such a way in that championship game that it was just one of the most dominant Super Bowl wins that we've seen.
Yeah, like I said, the confidence level, there was a big play in that first game where we get the interception. We're rolling back offensively. We get the interception, and it's a ticky-tack roughing the passer call, and where JPP's hand hits him on the shoulder and it makes contact, and they get a first down. That play changed a lot of that game. But again, going into that game, and our defensive front, they were ready to roll and just had a ton of confidence that they weren't getting blocked.
Yeah, and they didn't. Man, I have asked you, I'll bet you 3 different times about your retirement. You've been in and out of retirement. Honest to God, when you left Pittsburgh, that was it, right? You were leaving, you were going to the cabin in Georgia, and that was it. And I think it was Indy that called at that point, right?
Yeah, Chuck.
Yeah. And so then you go there and you get an interim head coaching job when Chuck Pagano was sick. You go 9-3. And so now it's game back on. You end up in Arizona and they play some great football out there. Carson plays the greatest football that he's ever seen in his life. And now, but after whatever 5 years, you're retired again. And then Tampa called again. I mean, this game keeps luring you back. Are you the new Tom Brady? Are you and Tom just going to go to your, whatever, 106 each and just keep winning trophies all the way?
No, I think the guys at the lake call me Brett Favre. How many times are you going to retire? And but it's the thing in Arizona was there's more of the cancer. The health things that I went through was like, my son turned 40 and it's like, what, how's he 40? A lot of things came together at once. And then this after doing CBS and broadcasting was fun. I hated to travel, but it was fun doing it. This job, I wasn't itching to get back in. And it just, my son's my agent. So Jake called Jason Light and, hey, Dad might be interested. And I said, what? And then Todd Bowles became available. Byron became available. Keith became available, the whole staff. And then I told my wife, I said, look, I'm going to go down and talk to him. And if we take the job, you already know 18 wives on the staff. And she's like, yeah, that's close enough. So she got a little bit excited. I came down, loved the ownership. Jason and I worked together. So it was just like perfect match. And then, to have a coaching staff come in and not even have to have a staff meeting and know where they're going, know what they're doing is very unique. And we added a bunch of young guys to the staff to start training that next group, and they obviously the ownership allowed me to have the largest staff in the league. And, I love telling the story. I went home and told Chris, I said, you know what? We had Jen, we had the female intern for training camp. I said, I think I'm going to have an intern for the whole season, a full-time one. She's, oh yeah, you're going to hire another girl and throw her away after a year and just use her. Why don't you just hire full time? I said, I'm going to go ask owners. So I went and talked to ownership. I said, I'd like to hire 2. And so it's not just one, it's just 2. And we found 2 great candidates and do a hell of a job for our staff. And it really goes back to my wife chewing me out.
I was watching Lori. We were at practice one day getting ready for one of the games, and she's coaching them. I mean, she's jamming them and she's putting her hands on them, and she's out there. You could tell that they respected what she had to say.
Oh, there's no doubt. She gets after their ass too while they run through the ball. And yeah, she's a hell of a football coach. You trust people in this business. And Joe Pender is one of my great friends and one of the great guys I trust the most. And I was speaking at UAB, and he said, "Are you really looking for another female coach?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We have one here at the Birmingham Iron. I hire her right now to be the defensive line coach." And I said, "Man, tell her to send me her stuff." It's not 2 weeks later, I get it, and I'm like, Lori Locust. She was at Temple when I was the head coach at Temple.
Oh, no kidding.
And married one of our DBs. Andy
really?
Locust. Yeah, and she knows Todd. She'd been working Kevin Ross's football camp every year in Jersey. It was a perfect fit, just a perfect fit. And she's fantastic. And then MJ's way overly qualified, and she's amazing. Our players love her.
Yeah, MJ's a physical therapist, so she kind of gets the whole body kind of what it takes to play this game, right?
Yeah, there's no between her and Alex Guerrero. I mean, we got two magicians as far as getting guys ready to play.
The simple question for you is: are you and Tom now coming in and going out together? Is this like, all right, Tom, you just tell me how long you want to do this, and I'm gonna be right there with you. And then how about you guys come up to the beach and your family will love it, or up to the lake house and we'll have some fun?
Yeah, I know that he might outlast me. I don't know, but it's interesting to think about it, because I have no clue just watching him play when that's going to be. But this is one hell of a fun ride. I know that.
It's unbelievable. And I know from Tom's standpoint, he's having fun. He's in Florida. It's not hard to get out of bed in the morning to go outside and practice, the balls that he used to throw when he was 25 years old and, up in the frozen tundra and all those. Some of the wind conditions in that stadium were just unbelievable. I'll never forget the shootout between him and Colin Kaepernick we called, and it had to be 29 degrees and 40-mile-an-hour winds. And I go, this game's going to be 7-3. I think it was 43-37. They're going up and down the field. It's the darndest thing I've ever seen. But he is a guy that can kind of get inside your soul too, isn't he? I mean, The passion, the ability to reach young players, is really pretty special.
Yeah, the thing you don't know about guys until you have them on your team and in their locker room, and great players when you see him. He's obviously a great leader, but his ability to help young defensive players, young offensive players, truly care about them and help them get better. Is amazing to me. And I'm out there saying, "Hey man, you're dropping your hands, you're not pumping your arms coming out of your breaks." I've been saying this for like a year now. And Tom says, "Hey dude, when you come out of your breaks, pump your arms." "Okay, Tom. Okay, I'll do it." Like, shit, I've been trying to tell you that, dude, for a year. Okay. So it's like it's different when he says it, and but he does it all the time. And I mean, he's throwing the ball and he's following the ball, saying, "Hey, no, when you come out of that break, let's come flatter." It's like it's amazing. But then, Devin was down when he didn't make the Pro Bowl, and Tom had a great talk with him. But hey, there's bigger fish to fry than the Pro Bowl, and really got Devin out of that little bit of a funk he was in. And it just great guy in the locker room.
And can you tell me what it's like to coach Gronk? Because when I would go into New England to interview those guys, I was like, okay, it's a little serious everywhere around here. And then Gronk would walk in the room, and no matter what Bill Belichick may want out of somebody, there was no change in that dude.
There's no filter. It's fun too, because when the dude works his tail off. He's one of the first ones in, meets extra. I love the look on his face when I started telling him, "You're not practicing on Thursday anymore." "What do you mean I'm not practicing on Thursday?" "I need you on Sunday. I don't need you on Thursday." Because he practiced so hard. And you could tell he was at a spot where, hey, he's at that age he needs a day off during the week. And man, coach, I'll be fresh. I'll be ready to grow over. This is unbelievable. And he just, what you see is what you get, bro. There's no faking it now. That's him.
And my final question, really, about Antonio Brown. You know Antonio, and he's hyped up. He can be a different breed of cat sometimes. But between you and Tom, you guys unlock something back to his youth and who he was and who he can be still. Can you give me just a little bit of that story?
Yeah, nobody that I've ever coached works harder than Antonio. I mean, practice is like a maniac, always in great shape. It's full speed. Our young guys started following him out to do his pregame warm-ups, in practice, the stuff he does to get ready and stays after. But when Tom brought it up, it's like, he's got an 8-game suspension. Let's revisit it six weeks from now and see where we're at. And we got Mike, we got Cris, we like these young guys. And it was like, Mike's hurt. He's playing on one leg. Cris has got a concussion. And it's like, Jason, let's bring him in. And AB and I sat and talked. And, I was convinced that it was not going to be any issues. And he was a model citizen the whole time he was here. And brought another work ethic to a group of guys that hadn't seen it before. Hadn't seen a great player work that hard. They've seen Brady and they've seen Gronk now. And to add another guy like that, with the respect factor he has in the locker room, just added to the whole picture that we were building. And, hopefully we can work things out and get him back.
Partner, I'll tell you this, you're just different. You're just different. You're a joy to talk to. You bring a smile and a hat to every meeting that makes it just a little bit more fun. You found a way to make the game of football so relatable to so many of us. And from everybody in my industry, I just want to say thanks. I think we were all sort of quietly cheering just a little bit that you would end up with one of those rings this year with Tom. But you do it in a first-class way, and we really appreciate you. And I know football fans everywhere thrilled for what happened to you this year, and congratulations.
I appreciate it, Cris. Thank you so much. And that recruiting story, I was at Mississippi State, and I was recruiting you myself.
I'll be a son of a gun. I probably missed it because I couldn't hear you over those damn cowbells ringing so loud down there. I should have gone to Mississippi.
I remember this.
I'd probably still be playing quarterback.
Yeah, the little skinny wishbone quarterback down there at, was it Canaveral?
Titusville Astronaut.
Titusville, yes.
There you go. There you go. Should have done it. I would have been a different person right now. Might have still had a job. Buddy boy, thank you very much.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. His phones ring everywhere here. I couldn't be happier for you. Congrats, pal.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
All right. I want to thank so much head coach Bruce Arians for coming on the podcast. We look forward next week to Richard Sherman being back with another great guest. Happy birthday, Richard. I hope that you are soon announcing that you have joined the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think that's going to happen, but hopefully it will. But make sure you subscribe to the podcast and head to pff.com to get your NFL draft guide, the PFF NFL draft guide. It is amazing. Mike Renner has headed up an amazing team putting this thing together, and you too can get prepared for the NFL draft. We will see you next week.